Welcome to the premiere of Let's Keep This Constructive, the podcast where we talk about the corporate world without the corporate filter. I'm James, and today our topic is Intro to Leadership. And we have John Yates, who's been in his industry for 5 years, but been recently in his role for less than 2. Today, we're going to get into more details on what John's experience going into leadership and kind of advice he would give new leaders, and also the triumphs and accomplishments he has done while being in this role.
Oh, right on. Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on. Really excited to get into leadership today. As far as what I've going on, I think I'm a year and a half into leadership. Definitely learning a lot. It's a huge jump to make, especially for a first-time leadership role. Other than that, in addition to growing my experience, I'm also growing my family, so I'm getting hit with new experiences just about everywhere I look.
Oh, yeah, you're having a baby. Okay, we'll go back to that in a second. Now, question. Before we get into the official questions, did you actually see yourself being a financial institution leader when you were kind of in college or like maybe in high school? Or where did you see yourself?
I definitely felt I was always destined for a leadership role. And I think like some of the hints to that, whether like even going far back as high school, I was captain for a soccer team. And then within college, I was president of a fraternity. And then here now I'm in management. So I think I always had a quality that pushed me towards leadership in some aspect.
Okay, well, you do know the saying, soccer captain, branch leader.
Right on.
All right, so let's get started with the first question. When you first started into leadership, what hit you immediately that you weren't expecting?
Right when you get started, I think you learn really quickly the biggest difference in this promotion is so much different than like the previous ones, where your responsibility grows a bit more, maybe you have more like capabilities to do things. But in leadership now, it's not about what you yourself are doing, it's about your team and what they're able to do and how you're able to guide them. I think that was immediately felt. I know you've been in leadership a while. Like, is that something that you felt when you first jumped in, or?
Well, yes, because I think what I was told before getting to leadership, so I had a little bit of insight getting into it. I was told that, you go from an individual contributor to a, team contributor, where you have to like basically benefit or manage their contributions, what they're doing, and that's your performance. It's no longer I did this, it's more my team did this, my team did this, and all that stuff. So I think, but that was told to me prior to getting into leadership, and I have a different history on that one. Is that what you're kind of referring to?
Yeah, I just feel like you hear things, and then like once you're actually like in the role is where you really feel it, and I think that's just been most significant. Like I felt it was coming, but like it's way different when you're expecting it versus when you're living it.
Okay, I think that kind of answers my next question though, because the next question was kind of be like, what do you think people don't understand about leadership, and like if you figure it out while you're doing it like when you step into it, like if it's the hard way you learn it or if you learn it before you get into it. And I think for your experience,
I just think it's you get into leadership by being so good on an individual level because you need to prove that you can do that first, and until you're in the spot you can hear it, but you won't really feel it until you go from everything that you do is how you're scored, how you're judged, and to the team environment where you really need to push your team to achieve the results that you want. I think it's just something that you have to be in the position to, and especially since first-time leader, that's when you really can understand it, even if you heard it before like you had.
Okay, so can you give me an example of your first, oh wow, this is different moment as a leader? Like your first, like, okay, like you actually have to take a step back. Like,
I think that happens a lot, especially since I'm newer. I'm just used to being able to either find the answer quickly or deliver it, a result, a solution. And now it's okay. I think I still am learning it's okay for other people to get some bumps and bruises to learn, because I learned that way too. And to give them space and time to learn on their own so they can get better, rather than just shove an answer in front of them immediately, or not giving them that same opportunity.
Love the monologue. Love it. Could we definitely give me an example?
An example, okay, so within this, the problems arise daily, like especially in the financial world. And again, like we're in quarters where you're trying to deliver like an answer really quickly. So having someone come right to me, ask me questions on how to figure out this problem, and rather than just give the answer, am I allowed to just give like official examples? Like I feel like that's tough. I feel like if I'm a long-term leader, I can be like, oh, this happened one of my teams, like you'll never know which.
Okay, so I think that's fair. It's
But now I'm in a point where if I'm talking about like my history, my team, there are 8 people, 9 people it can be, and that's it.
well, okay, so we'll move on.
It's tough with it, like if I'm 10 years deep, oh yeah.
Okay, we'll move on. We'll move on from that. We'll move on because I feel like you could have lied. But okay. Anyway, okay. So if you're being honest, but I mean, let's see if you're actually being honest. So, but honestly, is the workload the hardest thing in the leadership, or is managing the personalities the hardest thing?
I would definitely say personalities, and if you're lucky enough to hire your full team, I think that is the most important part. I think, as a great leader once said, like it's way easier to teach someone how to do their job, but you can't teach them how to be themselves. And that is, I think personalities by far is. What about you?
So do you follow me on LinkedIn?
I do.
Okay, so I've actually had a post regarding for what you just said about if you hire your own team, and I think that mindset is something very interesting. It's not the wrong mindset because I actually had similar mindsets in kind of like earlier in my leadership career as well. Like, if I hired my team, I would, have the perfect team, and I'll insert the post right here. If I figure out how to edit all this properly, you'll see a post right here. I also put in that post that proving yourself to an existing team is also a very rewarding thing. It's very rewarding. You keep, showing someone that they can trust you, they can go to you, and be going to an established team already and not winning them over, I want to say, but proving yourself as a leader to them is extremely something to experience. Hopefully you're there and you've done that to some of your teams where they can guide you. Also, I think when you became a leader, we actually had an increase of new bodies. So I think you did benefit of hiring a majority of your team, correct?
Yeah, I would say, nice split down the middle, yeah.
So you had an established team, but we were also expanding the team.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, guys, we work together.
More insight than you'd know.
Yeah, so that's so we work together. So we'll get into that a little later. But okay, so that being said, I did talk about that on my LinkedIn post,
Yeah.
And I'll pop it up right here again if I can edit it.
What would you say, like right off that, since we're talking personality versus what they can do, and you've hired a lot of people, do you prefer more experience or more moldable, essentially, when you hire?
So in a full honest sense, if I'm not going to tailor it to an organization, I'm going to tailor it to overall, because I've actually hired for numerous things. I've hired for my organization that I work for. I've actually onboarded for volunteer projects that I volunteer for in the community. And I've also, helped with, my nieces and nephews' school when it comes to PTAs, when you're onboarding parents to help with field trips and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think experience is very good, especially if you're bringing someone internal. Like when I had a parent, it was their 4th kid, in the PTA, and they knew how to do field trips. They knew how to do the plays. They knew how to, so bringing them onto the PTA team was very kind of like easy because I'm like, oh, they have experience. They know how to do it. And it's also in the same field. But also if I'm hiring or bringing someone externally, I think I want personality over experience at that point because they don't have the experience, which is fine, multiple, but they have a good personality I can work with and also help them gain that experience.
Yeah.
And when it comes to having experience, I think I'll be less inclined to rely on your personality because you can get the job done.
Yeah.
And I think that also applies to my current organization when we're hiring internally or externally. If we're hiring internally, it's a lot easier to just get them hit the ground running because they know the role already.
Yeah. You're just praying for that 2-for-1.
Yeah. 2-for-1. Honestly, I think on a real sense, like, hiring internally, you get someone who has experience, but you don't get the person that you would hire externally with the education background, with the personality background, with even sometimes the pay background.
Yeah.
Like you're bringing someone who already is solidified in their pay. It's just bringing them over to your team, and that can also play into a role, which I don't want to talk about that in this podcast. We'll talk about it in a different podcast, maybe a compensation podcast. But this one I want to stick to leadership. So you are personality over everything, internal and external,
I
or
want that healthy balance. I think, just out of I'm much more limited than you in like the hires I've done, but I've just seen it work out on both sides. It's less work up front, especially if they're internal and they come with that job knowledge. But I've heard from others where you can get unlucky, where yes, they know what they're doing, but they don't mesh well with.
can I tie it back to your soccer thing? Like when you were captain of the soccer, or I guess captain that actually didn't pick the team. Okay, so never mind. I can't then.
But if I were to, there were definitely people on the team or kids on the team back then that just had an attitude about them that was like a cancer to the team. And no matter how skillful they were, if you do get someone that's a cancer to the team or makes it hard for everyone else, then it's tough.
No, yeah, maybe that verbiage would be a little different. Yeah, let's change that. Yeah. But anyway, so that being said, we'll move on from that when it comes to managing personality and stuff like that, because I think overall I enjoy the tasks of the role. Okay, I can manage personalities because I know that when it comes to communicating with these personalities, you have to change it. You can't speak to everyone the exact same way. There's no uniform way you can talk to someone, because someone could be easily communicated with sarcasm and humor. Someone could be easily communicated with just clean professional talk. Others can just be very sensitive to even that, so they can be like, can I do this? I'm like, yes, of course you can. Move on, instead of saying like, duh. It's how you talk to people. Yeah. So I guess that's a good insight on that, because leadership is a lot dealing with a lot of personalities, and I think in time you'll be able to give me a solid answer. Maybe we'll do a podcast in like a year to follow up a year from now. Like, I'm managing a soccer team. Okay. So that being said, let's go to the next topic, which actually performance reviews. Have you done performance reviews in your time in leadership?
Once. So I know every organization does it different, but for me, it's just once a year. Of course, you have mid reviews and stuff, but like the main, it's once a year where it really, really matters.
Okay, so how would you prepare for the performance review throughout the year? What do you do? What's your secret skill that you want to share with the audience?
I think the biggest thing, especially since I'm newer to leadership and I know what very fresh to being on the other side, is that constant communication, I would say. Mm-hmm. I think the worst thing that can happen is like a surprise. Like, what would you say? Like again, it's longer for you. You've been in leadership longer, but like if you can remember back, what would be like your nightmare scenario for like a performance review?
Well, luckily I got hired roughly around the beginning of a PAR period, which is what we consider performance review period. I think that gave me an advantage because I got to talk to them from beginning of the performance review that I was going to write to the end of it. I don't think I had any negative surprises. I did have some positive surprises, because of improvement in performance and so on. But other than that, it's just I want to say more recently I think I had a surprise in a negative way for performance reviews. And all you can honestly do is if you have the support documented and you have your case on why you're justifying it, even if you have to change it because let's say the higher ups are telling you to change it, as long as you truly feel that the rating reflected what you documented, I think you can be at peace. If someone tells you, oh no, they deserve a higher one, based on what you've documented, that also gives you feedback and allows you to be like, okay, so that means this kind of work correlates to this kind of rating. So I think as long as you yourself as the leader document appropriately and allow yourself to have these things on record, the rating doesn't matter in the sense of delivering it, because it could either be accurate based on your support or it can be changed providing you feedback on what you document.
On what you already had, which is nice. I've been documenting like as much. I've also had my team try and like make sure they highlight their success stories and have them prepared. So I mean, again, so much happens, especially if you have a large team. It's good for them to do that so they can be happy with what they provide to the company. But like quarterly, I think it's good to sit down and just let them know where you feel they're at, what you're seeing, what you're taking away from them from their successes or even lack of. And that way there's at the end of the year, you don't want to say, oh, you're doing awesome, or we haven't talked in a year, and then boom, here's your rating. And they're like, what?
So aside from numbers, because we're in big, aside from numbers and quotas and we don't have quotas, but us, that kind of stuff, what do you look out for in a performance review that can help someone's performance?
I think it's stepping outside of the role, where every role when you're hired, you can look look it up and just see what your qualifications are, what you're expected to do. And then I think it's really fun to not only see that you are doing that extremely well, but that you're able to encompass more or do more for the team or more outside of your role, influence others, impact others to do great things. And I think that really stands out, that not only are you so good that you can do your role fine, but you're able to do even more. I think that's really cool.
I'm gonna ask you this, but it'll be okay if you don't answer, because again, this is your first team, and I don't want to put you in a position where you're not like a team. Have you ever had to give a review where you're like, this is gonna be a tough conversation?
I think because it was my first time, and there's so many like amazing reviews or good reviews or maybe less than good reviews, I think I was nervous. So yeah, my very first one where it wasn't the best review, so I was like, oh my goodness, like it wasn't bad. I know everyone wants to be the best, and it was tough just to go like, oh, I remember going to these on the other side wanting the best, and it went over fine. Like they agreed with everything that I had recorded, that I had seen, and they would have given themselves the same. But it was just that nerve-wracking feeling of I know what the highest rating can be, and if you don't give that, then there could be pushback. Well, we'll see going forward. Again, only with more time, we'll see. What about you? Like, you got any?
I actually do. So I mentioned the church situation earlier. So I used to actually volunteer for a church, and for volunteers, it was the strangest thing when I first got into it. But when volunteers actually got reviews as well. But the reviews were mainly to know we were going to continue allowing them to volunteer in the church for the next coming year. I was able to contribute to a review for a volunteer. But this volunteer was, honestly, I'll be honest, by the way, this church, I don't go to this church anymore. This was 5 years ago. They would come in and do an hour of work, and they would have us sign this form that they did like 4. And I was just like, no, I wasn't the one signing it, but the person who was in charge was signing it. And they were getting to a point where like, okay, no, we can't, like, I'm not going to continue having them here. I feel like I'm committing fraud. And they're like, fine. So anyway, so that being said, because I was working the floor with them in the sense of like, maintaining the churches, we'd clean, we'd, organize, we'd actually, prepare the CDC classes. We would help to prepare the stuff for that after school situations. They asked me to observe, take notes and stuff like that. And my notes came 3 hours late and sat there on their phone.
Watch me work.
Yeah, exactly. So, and because I contributed to it, they actually had me sit in. So in the review, and they told them, hey, like, this is a review. This is what we're doing. We're not going to continue with you volunteering here. And they were upset because this was, let's just say it wasn't voluntary.
Yeah.
It wasn't voluntary work for them. They weren't doing it out of the kindness of their heart. It was, hence the form. So that being said, I've been in positions where I was maybe even delivering it. I don't think I delivered it though. I think I just sat there. I was there. They were looking at me like I wrote this. I'm like, yeah, I had to write it. I was working alongside you. Well, okay. So that being said, all right. So we work together. Okay. I feel like this will be a more open conversation because we can talk about each other and without legality and stuff like that. Well, depending on what I edit out. You and I work together, and I'll say it. I'm a very strong personality. What's it like working with me on a day-to-day basis?
Again, like when we said earlier, like you kind of know what you're applying for. Like it wasn't a mystery, like from your boss, where again, like you're someone that's solidified in the role, knows a great deal of job knowledge, comes from you were managing this just by yourself to adding a partner now. So I realized that like I'm this odd ingredient that's coming in. I was ready for it. I think it's been, really well. There's again, like we were talking about how we hire personalities and people that'll come do the job but blend well with the team, and I feel like that was done prior to. Because
are you saying you blended well with me?
Yes, I would be willing to say that.
Okay, well the question,
they're like, oh, I think it's working like real well. Like again, you know what you're doing. You've been a solid guide and mentor, so nothing but good things on my end.
All right, well just know when I animate this, I will be giving you a tissue to wipe the brown.
How has it been working with me, sir?
Okay, so in reality, you make work enjoyable. I'll give you that. I always give you a hard time because, it's just how I am. I will say this. You actually allowed me to stop being competitive, because I felt like although when you came into the role, I shouldn't have been insecure. Is that the word? Because anyone would get insecure into that kind of role. And I think, oh, by the way, I'm going to throw in that little screenshot of my LinkedIn post regarding our relationship right now. Okay. So let's pause and then look at this post real quick. It talks about, how we get territorial. And I think I was very territorial when you came along because I was the one usually, making the decisions. With my manager, of course, my boss. And adding a third person is difficult, especially when that person, you have to train them, you have to, observe them, you have to they're your peer instead of your team member, so you can't really talk to them in a more a authority level. It's now equivalent level, and so working with you, it's fun. You make it easy. You actually allow me to be myself, which is good. I guess I'll animate.
Chosen for a reason. Thank you.
All right, I guess I'll animate you. Give me a tissue.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, so but that being said, it's okay. It's okay.
I mean, no matter what, you go from in leadership, usually your thought is you make the calls, and we're still in a collaborative mindset, and they will disagree on things, and it's just navigating.
Do you feel one of us does more work than the other?
In different ways, and that's kind of the beauty of where we're at now, or we have different goals and different both for on regional, on really large levels, and then on our day to day. So I think how we apply that
you and this regional.
Oh my! It's good results. You should be inspired because last year I didn't do anything outside of just my team, and you were one of the people that said put yourself out there. There's no reason not to.
You know what? Right now I'm gonna animate us as Boy Scouts. I'm gonna have a sash with my stitches and with my badges on there, and I'm gonna have his sash with his regional badge on there. All right.
Yeah.
So you don't think we do one does more than the other?
Oh no, I'm sure they're depending on how that looks, it's nothing's ever 100% even. That's just the way I think things work.
Okay, so no.
No, you'll do as much as me though. You've earned the relaxation.
Yes. Okay, so how do you stay grounded in leadership styles when you've got people around you who are very confident in their opinions? This doesn't apply just to me, maybe. You can apply to our boss.
I think I'm still getting some bruises out here, and I'm still learning, and that's just how I learn. So I'm nowhere near in this point where oh, I'm so successful, I know what's best. I am still asking so many questions and still looking to learn and making mistakes, which is okay. So, well,
I'll tell you this, that won't change because I've been in leadership a little bit longer. Now, I think the conception is I've been in leadership 10 years. I've been in leadership, I think 3 or 4. No, yeah, more 4 or 5 maybe, and he's been in it too. So I've only have a couple years on him. But that being said, I still have that feeling. I'm still learning, still doing all these things, and that's never going to stop because I truly think leadership is the position where you learn the most. Yeah. And that's where you change the most. You adapt. When I first got into leadership, when they were hiring these positions, stuff like that, I was like, well, why do they hire these, I'm going to say seasoned people, in these positions, just because they have 20 years in leadership. And I think now I know why, because those 20 years really did matter. Experience of talking to people, communicating with people, managing people. Though I think time does bring a lot of skill to a role. So now I understand the AVPs making decisions of picking someone external, but they have 40 years of leadership. I get it. Yes, I can do the tasks, but I can't do what they're doing, with their time. And I respect that now.
And I feel it's also how many times have they seen things go wrong and made it to the other side too? I'm with you. As long as you're still feeling it, then I'm ready to navigate. I'm ready to keep getting back up.
Now, John, you mentioned something earlier. You mentioned that you're having a child.
Oh yeah.
All right. So a baby on the way in May. Oh, look at that. I'm rapping.
Yeah.
How has you expecting a child shifted your mindset when you come to work as a leader?
I think it's only going to do it more and more once he's here. But it's
a boy.
Yeah.
What's the name?
Yeah. Oh, we'll see. To be determined. TBD.
All right.
But I think it's just another surprise, another thing to think about, and and I really don't get. I think I'm blessed in the way I don't really get overwhelmed easily, and I think it's just another thing there that I need to give time and effort to, and I'm just ready for it. A lot of people ask me oh, are you really nervous? Of course, but there's been so many times even in my professional career, yes, I've been nervous, but we navigate,
Okay. And so do you think leadership roles realistically allow for balance, work-life balance, or is that something that you have to actively protect?
I think it depends where you work. I've seen at least with our company and some of our peers and stuff, how many people have or families or kids or other things that they dedicate their times to, and they're still successful. I'd call them successful, and there's a reason they're still our peers. Definitely could be industries I think that could be harder, but I would say you have even more peers than me. You've really expanded. I see how many people you're talking to, both here on this platform and then in person, or what would your answer be to that?
Well, I have dogs. I don't have kids. I don't plan on having kids. Kids are not something in my near future. I know, no shade to anyone else, but like, or anything of the, I think there's two different people in the world, the people who don't have kids and the people who do it. And, so honestly, I have no answer to that.
Oh, but I'm just trying to think, even your peers and stuff, like, but even then you have you take your nephews, nieces out and about, make things for I think still.
Well, yeah, so I think that allows me extremely more life balance because I can pick and choose moments in the year to do that. Because I have to do that 365. So it's an unfair comparison, and I truly respect the working parent. I truly, because the 1 week I have the kid, if I find that hard, I can imagine being a parent. So I respect a parent who's working, So that's my opinion on that.
I just think in this, at least for us, I think we're in our space from our peers. I think it's more possible than it may be elsewhere. But
it's a little easier to have kids and work when you're not really in a more like in-person demanding job, because I think where our industry is very, our role requires us to be there. Like most jobs that allow you to complete the project within 48 hours, not be there for 40 hours. I have a different friend who actually will be in a different episode, who's in government work, and she has a better work-life balance with her kids than anyone who I would know in my industry. Also, I do have a little bit of more of a raised eyebrow on the kind of expectation. For leaders in our department, in our industry, it's a little bit more lenient to be absent from work. But when the working parent in the MSR role is absent, it's seen in a negative way. I don't think that's a fair comparison sometimes. I understand there are different roles or different skill sets, different expectations. I get that 100%. But I don't think it's fair sometimes because they also are adults with lives. I think a lot of that time in leadership, you see yourself as the only adult. No, you are working with adults. You're in that. You're communicating with grown people. Yeah. They're not beneath you. They're not your children. Like, by the way, I hate when leaders say these are my kids. That's great. Like, sir,
that won't be me.
Yeah, sir.
No, that's not my thing.
Your kid's like 40 and you're 38. It's not. That's not possible. But anyway, yeah. So that's a broader topic for a different episode. But I do want to talk a little bit actually as we wrap up. I want to talk about networking in leadership, and I want to talk about how you are working on that, because I can, like you said earlier, I can confidently say that I can network in a personal way with anyone who I talk to. I can become best friends with a person within one conversation. It's easy, and I don't do it in a leveraging way of like benefiting myself, because I don't want anything from anybody. I just want to be respectful and respected. And that's at the end of the day. Do you think you are working or have a strong network skill right now?
I think it's definitely bolstering right now. The first year I was in leadership, I was so focused on not really being seen right away. I just wanted to get real good at being a leader. I wanted to get some more victories under my belt, that more confidence before like I was able to be seen by others. That way, when it came time, they'd see me as more complete or more established, And also, it's hard. I joined next to you and then our boss, who's been there in leadership for years and years and years, that already had these victories, these things that I didn't feel like, or these capabilities that I didn't feel like I had yet. So I think now I'm starting to get there, and like I've seen how you network, so it's like monkey see, monkey do, and like it's looking awesome now. So getting to speak with a lot of people and meet a lot of people, gather information, their wins, ideas, other things that I can inspire my team with. So I think now I'm in my era of networking.
So if someone stepped into leadership for the first time, what is one thing you'd tell them that you wish you knew?
It's okay to take your lumps and bruises. And I know I've said that earlier in the show, but I think that's so important is you are not going to be perfect off the bat, whether you're flying solo or in a leadership team. There are going to be mistakes. There are going to be problems. You're going to have moments where you don't succeed. Don't think that defines you. Like, what would you say is the hardest lesson that you've learned in leadership?
Admitting when I'm wrong. When I was not a leader, I would die on that hill. You would have my gravestone there engraved in gold. I will die on that hill. But in leadership, I I'm okay with being wrong. Like at the end of the day, it takes the weight off. You know, I can go home and not be thinking and be cycling in my head of how I know I'm wrong, but I just didn't admit it. I think admitting when I'm wrong. I think apologizing genuinely when you make mistakes, when you offend your team members, because being defensive in your position is very dangerous on how your team perceives you. I never want my team to perceive me as someone dangerous they can't get feedback to, because then I can't grow. Then I can't, be the best me that I am for the team. Now, I'm not perfect. I'll definitely stare hard if someone comes late to work. But at the end of the day, they know it's just a stare and they can laugh it off with me.
Yeah.
We can go on, we can go about our day and just talk about random stuff. And I think that's the best part of being a leader, where you have the ability to deliver a good personality to your team. And I think that's something I learned, biting your pride sometimes. I don't know, would that be pride? Would that
I don't even know, but I would agree. I think that, and it shows if you can react well to someone coaching you or giving you an idea or even correcting you, it sets the tone for how they should act if you do the same.
And then, so what does leadership mean to you now compared to what you thought it meant before?
Oh, leadership is about giving opportunity to your team, letting them have the victories, letting them take the falls, letting them grow and learn, letting them inspire others as well. It's really taking the passenger seat. Like, you're there, you can help from the passenger seat, but they're at the wheel and you need to be confident in them and let them drive.
That's fair. I think before I got into leadership, I always looked at my leaders because, let's give you an example, because this is not the current team. I always felt like there was something that a team member was doing that I felt the leadership should just step in, like nip it in the bud. Like, why are they addressing this with that person? Why are they taking care of this? And then going to leadership, it's not that easy, because you know more of the story now. You know more of what's the background. You know more of what they contribute, what they bring.
Yeah.
A team member sees 1% of their teammates' contribution. A leader sees all of it. I understand now why they probably didn't say or do stuff that I wanted them to address at that time to them, because I didn't see the full story. I didn't see what they were doing, why they were doing it, and stuff like that. Also, you have to pick and choose your battles, and I see that now as a leader. There are certain things that don't need to be addressed because they're not hurting the overall team or the overall performance or the overall efficiency of the brand. Now it means thinking of resolutions that could work for everyone instead of thinking of resolutions that work for me. So that's something that I changed on my perspective of leadership. But I really appreciate you coming on, John. I'm going to wrap this up now. And for anyone listening, leadership isn't just the title. Sometimes you just figure it out in real time. Today I think we kept this constructive. I really appreciate you coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really excited. You said earlier, just going back to this, I want to see where I'm at 10 years down the road.
Thank you. Say bye.